police are trying to determine why a heavily armed shooter fired through the windows of a Minneapolis Catholic school at the beginning of Mass this morning, killing 2 children and hurting 17 other people. The Minneapolis Police Chief, Brian O'Hara, joins me now. And Chief, thank you for being here with us tonight. I can only imagine what your day has been like. Just starting off, can you give us any updates on the 14 kids and the 3 elderly victims who were hurt today and how we know they're doing tonight?
Yes, well, obviously the entire community here has been traumatized by what has happened. 2 young children, ages 8 and 10, have been killed. They were pronounced deceased at the scene. And then the remaining victims, thankfully, are all expected to survive.
Do you know how many of the kids that were hurt are still in the hospital tonight?
Yes, some of the children have been released, but there are a number that still remain in the hospital. They had a range of injuries. One, I believe, was only like a graze wound from a gunshot wound, all the way to some very, very serious and life-threatening injuries that thankfully they are expected to survive from.
Yeah, and we're so grateful to hear that they are expected to survive. That was obviously everyone's first concern hearing that. For the families of that 8-year-old and the 10-year-old who were killed, have you had a chance to speak with those families?
I have not personally spoken with the families of the 2 children who were deceased. I know they were present here, and it was a very, very difficult process for our officers that had to make those notifications, as well as, obviously all of the family members who had children attending school here. It was a very emotional day. I actually had one of the parishioners come up to me, very emotional, describing the first police officer that went into the church. He said a number of children he was huddled with, and they were just terrified over what was happening. And he saw a police officer in a regular uniform, not wearing a helmet, not with any rifle or SWAT gear, run in and ask him where the shooter was. He said he pointed the direction where the shooter had come from, and he said that officer ran directly to where the shooting had happened. And he told me that was the first time he and the other children there, the children that were there, began to feel some sense of safety.
I mean, just the thinking of what those kids felt in that moment. I mean, hearing from them, I think is devastating. Where were you when you found out about the shooting?
I was downtown, and I got a call immediately once it was confirmed. I responded and got here about 20 or 25 minutes after the first officer arrived.
When it comes to the school itself, do you know if the school had ever asked for a law enforcement presence to be there before as a precaution?
I don't have information about that. I do know, obviously, the school has its own safety procedures that are in place. It's a Catholic school that serves the community here. And I actually believe they have had trainings where they drill for these types of things. And even I am told that during the Mass this morning, a number of the doors had been locked once Mass began, which is part of their normal procedure. And obviously we believe that this step also played a part in ensuring this tragedy did not become that much worse.
On the shooter,
a number of the children had, even described, getting down and taking cover and helping others get cover as they had practiced before.
Yeah, just to think that kids know what to do in that situation speaks to, I think, a lot. My mom is a 4th grade teacher, and they practice these things regularly. Sir, can I ask you on the investigation itself, have you learned anything more about a potential motive here, given the videos and the writings that we know that had been posted online?
Sure. Well, there were 4 search warrants that have been conducted. At least one is still, the scene is still being processed right now. There are documents that have been retrieved, dozens of pages. that the FBI is helping us go through. So, what we've seen so far is just a variety of hate, just really deranged comments and almost like an idolizing of previous active shooters. So right now we don't have a clear motive to establish for why he did this at the church today. We're obviously open to every possibility, and we're hopeful that once we are able to go through the scene, all of the evidence that's collected, that we'll be able to better provide answers for our community.
Yeah. What were those other, I understand one's still ongoing, but what were the other places where you executed those search warrants?
There were three. One is the church, and then there are three residences in the Twin Cities metro that are associated with the shooter that search warrants were approved and have been executed.
And we believe, we saw a yearbook photo, but can you confirm that the suspect attended the grade school at Annunciation?
Yes, we believe that the suspect at some point was a student here or a member of the parish, and that a family member here also worked for the church. So he did have
a connection,
some level of a personal connection to the church. Yep.
And in those writings and videos that you've been seeing, I know you mentioned a lot of hate. We've heard from the FBI director say that they're investigating this as domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics. Have you seen anything that would speak to that so far?
Well, I can tell you there is no question whatsoever that for the children, for the parishioners, for the family members that have been infected here, that this was absolutely terrorizing for them. There's no question about it. But again, getting back to the actual motive per se, we are not ruling anything out. We are open to all possibilities, and we will examine all of the evidence as we get it, and then provide an accounting for anything we have to show as far as what the motive may have actually been.
And as far as the weapons, I know there were several, they're very popular firearms. Do you know if they were purchased in your state? Have you determined that yet?
As far as the weapons, there were three on the scene here. They were lawfully purchased. He had a permit to purchase that was issued in Minnesota recently. I don't have information about where specifically those weapons were purchased, but they were purchased lawfully.
Chief, I know that you've seen a lot today, and we heard from a fifth grader talking about what it was like to be inside Mass this morning when this happened. Can I just ask personally how you're doing tonight with your community going through something like this?
I'm a parent myself. I have children, as do many of the men and women, police officers and the first responders that came here this morning, and just walked into this unthinkable act of violence. And so obviously, we are concerned as we go through this investigation and continue to handle the day-to-day responsibilities of the police department, that we look out for the health and wellness of our members that came here, not just our sworn officers, but our civilian professional staff, our crime lab personnel, because this is one of those scenes that's just deeply traumatizing.
Minneapolis Police Chief, Brian O'Hara, our hearts are with y'all tonight. I mean, I can't imagine for those officers who were there on the scene responding right away. I just want to say thank you, and thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you.